Hi, my name is Kaylee. I'm a licensed nail tech, and in this video I'm doing a demonstration of the steps for performing manicures and nail enhancements in your manicurist state board test. I have this updated for the year 2026. A couple disclaimers before we get into the video. I don't work at a beauty school. I'm a licensed nail tech. This is for the Michigan manicurist test, so you'll have to look at the instructions for your specific state if you're not in Michigan. A couple of the steps could be different. A couple things like some states don't allow cuticle nippers. In Michigan, we are using cuticle nippers in this test. Also, the way I interpret some of the stuff in this test might be different than how you were taught at school or how you interpret it. Just kind of go with your gut. The proctors are looking at, are you disinfecting your station properly in between each topic area? That is their biggest concern. Are you putting on new gloves each time, taking them off, using hand sanitizer a million times? That is what they're gonna mark you down for, not whether you're using your buffer or your nail file first or the simple things like that. Now, there will be other people in the room taking their state board test with you. If you're looking around and they're doing stuff different than you, just go with what you know. Don't be like, oh my gosh, they're doing that, I should do that. Or like switch it up, because then you're gonna like lose track of time, lose track of what you're doing. Just stick with what you know. Also, this video is just a demonstration on the steps for basic manicure, nail tip application, and nail enhancement with a form. I am not including in this video how to clean up and disinfect your station in between each topic area. I do have another video where I just kind of act out the manicurist test and I go through the entire thing, disinfecting and sanitizing in between each topic area. That is on my channel. I also have a packing tutorial, so you know how to pack your bags for state board, what to pack, and the order that you want to take everything out of your bags. That is also on my channel. So I think that's everything. Now let's get right into the video. After performing our workstation preparation, sanitizing your hands, applying gloves, and sanitizing the mannequin's hand, the first step is going to be removing nail polish from that pinky finger. While we're doing this, we want to be careful not to spill any of the acetone. How I'm doing this is after I take my cotton out of my pre-sanitized bag, I'm going to open my single-use plastic bag and hold that cotton ball over the open bag while I'm pouring the acetone. This ensures that I'm not spilling any acetone over the table and prevents me from contaminating my workstation. Now, as we're doing this, I want to remind us all that after we open a Ziploc bag and we're done with it, make sure to shut all of those bags. This prevents contamination. Same thing goes for any liquids, lotions, acetones, or anything like that. After I'm done using this container, we want to make sure the lid is on there and the lid is on there tight so that we're not spilling and having to deal with that during our test. Now that I've removed all that red nail polish, I'm opening up my single-use Ziploc bag and disposing of that used cotton swab. For the basic manicure, we are only using the first 3 fingers on the mannequin hand, and then 1 finger will have the nail tip application and 1 more finger will have the nail enhancement using a form. The next step is filing. Now, when I'm filing, you want to make sure you're filing from the side to the center, only going one direction at a time. You don't want to be sawing back and forth because that could potentially cause breakage to your client's natural nails. After I'm done using this file, I'll dispose of that in my single-use Ziploc bag. Any disposable items like a file, buffer, cotton ball, paper towels, or anything like that, we will always dispose of that in a single-use bag, whether that's this smaller Ziploc bag or the large single-use paper bag. Now I'm grabbing my finger bath and my container labeled soapy water, and I'm just pouring a little bit of this into that container so I don't make a big mess, or really you could just pretend to pour it in there. Then, because this soapy water container is something that could be cleaned, disinfected, and reused, I'm putting that in my multi-use bag instead of the single-use bag. Now I'll let that mannequin hand rest in my finger bath filled with soapy water, and I let that sit there for a second or two just so that the proctor knows you're supposed to let the hand soak in the finger bath. Now I'm grabbing my nail brush and I'm going to scrub the fingernails clean using downward strokes. After setting aside the finger bath and nail brush, I'm grabbing a paper towel and I'm going to dry the mannequin's hands, and especially around the fingernails and the cuticle. After throwing away your paper towel in your single-use bag, we will be applying cuticle remover to the cuticle area. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not touching the bottle part of the dropper onto their nail, but just holding the dropper above their nail and letting that little bead of cuticle remover fall onto the hand so that you're not contaminating your cuticle remover container. After applying the cuticle remover, we will be pushing back the cuticles and cleaning under the free edge with a wooden stick, but we want to wrap the end of the wooden stick with some cotton so that we're not hurting the client with the sharp end of the wooden stick. So you can see I kind of just stab the edge of the cotton ball and roll the cotton around the wood stick so it kind of stays on there. Then we'll just kind of pretend to push back the cuticles as well as swiping around that free edge to remove any dirt that could be under the fingernail. Next, we will be removing any hangnails or dead skin from our client's fingernails. Here I'm just pretending to cut any dead skin from the mannequin's hand. I'm not actually cutting any part of the mannequin hand. Now I'm smoothing out the surface of the fingernails with a buffer, and then I'll go in with my nail oil, apply that to the fingernails, and massage the oil into the fingernails using a circular motion. Now I'm using a dropper to apply my nail oil. Same thing with the cuticle remover. Do not touch that dropper to the mannequin, but just hold it over top so that you're not contaminating the dropper piece. The next step is to apply hand lotion to the mannequin hand and massage that into their hand. Here I accidentally applied way too much and it also spilled on the towel. So just when you're practicing, be careful and only apply a little bit so that your hand isn't slippery for the rest of your test and so that you don't have to deal with a mess on your towel. In this situation, I'm just ignoring that the towel has lotion on it and I'm going to keep going with my test. I don't want to draw attention to it. Now we are getting ready to apply polish, so I'm grabbing a cotton ball and my acetone to clean around the fingernails, removing any lotion or nail oil, and prepping the mannequin hand for polish application. For this manicure, we are not using any colored polish, but just a base polish. You can see that I'm using 3 swipes on each nail, the left side of the nail, the right side of the nail, and then again down the center. Now we are finished performing our basic manicure, so you can go ahead and stand up your mannequin hand so that your proctor can come around and take a look at it. Dispose of your gloves, apply hand sanitizer, and stand quietly behind your chair. Now we're moving on to nail tip application. After sanitizing your hands and applying gloves, the first step is going to be sanitizing the mannequin's hand. Next, I'm grabbing a buffer and you want to lightly buff that one fingernail to remove any shine and smooth out the nail for the tip application. After disposing of our buffer, we are going to grab our nail tip that is either too large or too small for the mannequin hand and hold it up to that end of that fingernail to check and see if the nail tip will fit or not. After checking to see if the nail tip fits and realizing it's too large, we will dispose of that nail tip in our single-use bag. Now we can grab the nail tip that is the correct size for our mannequin's finger and hold that up to the mannequin hand to check and make sure the nail fits. After realizing that the nail fits, we want to grab our nail glue without setting down that fingernail tip. Now I'm opening the nail glue and applying a small amount to the inside of that nail tip and then applying the extension to the mannequin hand. Now, if possible, I would recommend using a brush-on nail glue applicator instead of these bottles, because after one time of using these bottles, sometimes the glue can dry up, and if your glue's not working for your test, that would be a major issue. Now, I'm holding the nail tip to the mannequin hand for at least 15 seconds, and a good tip is to hold your hand over top of the nail tip to create a little bit of heat, because sometimes the heat will help the glue solidify faster and you don't want the nail tip not to stick. Now that the nail glue is dry, I'm grabbing a nail file and I'm going to blend the nail tip into the natural nail. So doing this, I am filing back and forth on the top of the nail, only on the nail tip, not on the natural nail, just filing back and forth to reduce that ledge that the nail tip creates and make a smooth transition from the natural nail to the extension. Now I'm grabbing my scissors and we are going to cut the nail tip shorter. It doesn't matter how much shorter you cut the nail tip, you just need to show that you're taking some length off. Here I'm pinching the end of the nail tip with my pinky and ring finger so that that tip doesn't fly away and get contaminated by flying onto the floor or hitting anything else on my workstation. Now I'm disposing of the end of that nail tip, putting away my scissors, and we are going to start shaping that extension. Now I'm taking my second file out of my pre-sanitized bag and filing the end of my extension as well as the sidewalls, just to create a smooth and consistent shape. It doesn't matter what shape you create, but for this it's easiest to go square, so I'm just cleaning up all the edges so that the square is more consistent. Now we are done with the nail tip application, so we can go ahead and set up our mannequin hands so the proctor can come and check it out, make sure everything looks good, and then we will get to cleaning up our station after removing our gloves and applying hand sanitizer. Moving on to nail enhancement using a form. Go ahead and apply your hand sanitizer and then apply your gloves and sanitize your mannequin's hand. Next, I'm grabbing a buffer and we are going to buff that thumbnail to remove any shine or stickiness or residue that might be on there. After removing any shine with the buffer, I'll grab a nail brush and brush that thumb to remove any extra dust. Now I'm grabbing my nail form sticker and we are going to apply that to the thumb. Sometimes it's easier if you have a free edge already made on your mannequin hand, but for this one I just build it right off of those little nubs on my mannequin hand. So I took the back of that sticker off and I'm going to fold the end a little bit to create that C curve and make sure that rounded shape matches the end of my nail, and just wrap that onto the mannequin's hand. Once we have that nail form on there snugly, I'm disposing of the rest of the nail form and grabbing primer and applying that to the nail plate. You don't need to apply primer anywhere on the form, but just lightly scrub it into the nail's surface. Now we are going to set up for our acrylic application, so I'm grabbing my Dappen dishes labeled acrylic nail powder and acrylic nail liquid, as well as my acrylic nail powder and liquid. Now you want to make sure that your Dappen dishes you're using do have lids so that when we dispose of this at the end, the acrylic is not spilling all over your bag. We are also going to take a paper towel and fold it to use as a wiping sheet for our acrylic. You want to make sure you're not wiping the acrylic on that towel that the mannequin hand is sitting on or any cloth towel like that at all, because the acrylic will not come out of that and we will need to throw away this paper towel after using it. Now, when you come to your actual state board test, you want your acrylic nail liquid and powder to be new containers so that they can see that you're opening the seal. On this first one, it is a new container, but it just did not have a seal on it, so I'm just pouring that right into my Dappen dish. And then I have this wood pusher out to break the seal, and I'm going to do that on my nail liquid before I pour that into the Dappen dish. Now I'm going to take my acrylic nail brush and start applying the acrylic. Your brush doesn't have to be in a plastic wrap like this. Mine just ended up that way because it was a new brush. Also, be careful with what brush you choose because it definitely makes a difference with how the acrylic lays. Now I've applied that bead of acrylic and I'm just kind of patting and pulling at the sides to try to keep it on the nail and not let it fall down the side of the nail. And then it's best to just pat the acrylic to move it around while it's still wet instead of like scraping or dragging. The patting is what works best. As you're applying the acrylic, you want to make sure it extends over the nail form so that the proctors can see that you did apply an extension with the form. Also, I would have taken a smaller bead than this so that the layers have more time to dry. Now I'm using this second bead to try to build the nail a little thicker and create somewhat of an apex. And just make sure that you're getting all the sides and edges so that the nail is fully covered. And while you're applying acrylic, try to apply it into somewhat of a shape that will make it easier for you to file later on. This one just ended up kind of being an almond shape, so that's what I went with. After my acrylic is applied and I'm happy with it, I like to tap it to see if the acrylic has dried. You can feel it with the end of your brush. I'm also using the end of my brush to scrape at those sides and try to push them towards the center. Now that I've tapped the end of my brush to the acrylic and felt that it was dry, I'm removing that nail form and disposing of it in a single-use bag, and then we are going to start shaping the acrylic. When shaping the acrylic, make sure you shape all the sides and edges so that it's smooth and even. And then I also like to file on top of the nail to smooth out that apex and those little bumps. Now that I've checked out my mannequin hand and ensured that my acrylic is smooth enough, I'm setting up that hand and I'm going to be done with my acrylic application. Make sure you clean up anything on your workstation. Remove your gloves, apply hand sanitizer, and stand behind your chair.